Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another episode of Karmy's Corner, where we discuss everything esports and esports related. The episode today, it's talking about the government. It's talking about things going on in the esports space that could be pretty scary for teams in the future if it continues to happen. I know this may be a one-off thing, but we'll get into the news and talk about my opinion on how bad this could be for teams of our size and even teams as big as Moist Esports. So we'll get into it after this little coffee break here. Cause there is life abundance, life abundance. Anyway, so if you're a fan of Apex Legends or a fan of esports in general, you've probably heard that Moist Esports had to drop their Apex Legends roster because of visa issues, which when you get down into the nitty gritty dirtiness of it is really, really weird situation that can only be attested to laziness on the government's part, the American government, for the immigration people to be able to file these because they're all set up and good to go. I don't understand why they can't be allowed into the country. And it gets even crazier when you find out the loopholes they had to jump through to allow these players to play. So, for those of you who don't know, Moist Esports is currently the second highest rated team in North America after the Split 1 playoffs and all that stuff. They're going into the LAN event, second best team in North America, and a top favorite and contender to win the entire LAN event, right? So all those previous matches were played online. Now the LAN event is being played in LA sometime in earlier mid-May, somewhere in there. So the LAN event's coming up really soon, and these players were hoping to be able to get into North America or into the United States a little bit ahead of time to practice and get the ball rolling. If you guys don't know Moist Esports, their players are all from Australia. So the loophole around the first time, I believe, is that they couldn't play in America, so then they went up and they've been living in Canada to be able to play on the North American servers. But now, because the LAN event's coming up, they need to get down there. But because they're already flagged under the organization of Moist Esports that has had an issue getting them into the country for Split 1, it's holding them up quite a lot, getting them into the country, getting them allowed to play. So, from my understanding, their loophole around that to get them to play for the Split 1 was to play in Canada, which worked out pretty good. But now, with the offline event, they need to get themselves across the border, and that's where they're having this big holdup. They've applied and had to jump through all the legal loopholes and fill out all the paperwork. They've been working with some of the best lawyers on the planet to try and get this pushed through, whereas other teams have not had an issue at all, right? And Moist Esports is just flagged for whatever reason. And from my understanding, whenever you apply for anything to do with immigration in America, you get sent like a singular agent, right? So one person takes on this case and they're the one that handle it through to the end. So whoever they have is just being ridiculously difficult to work for or work with for no apparent reason. They've, like I said, they've paid crazy money with these top end lawyers that do nothing but immigration, and they're the best in the world at it. And they are even shocked that they've been rejected again. So what you have now is the second best team in North America, right? Almost a shoe in for a top 5 at this LAN event. That is I think $1.1 million prize pool. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the exact specifics, but it's a big prize pool, right? And for a lot of esports teams and players, a lot of their revenue and salaries and stuff can be attributed to tournament winnings, right? So not being able to play because of visa issues is very disheartening, especially considering they're from Australia. You know, it's not like they're coming in from North Korea or something crazy like that. They're from Australia, right? They're just a bunch of gamers coming down to game. And the side too is that like no other esports org going there has had issues. They've had the higher up executives, right, the people that are running EA and Respawn, reach out to these immigration. I don't even know what to call them. The bureaucracy of immigration in America, and they've tried to convey that like these players need to be here. It's for a legitimate cause. Like this is a big business sort of situation that needs to happen, and they're still getting rejected. So the dumbest part is that the loophole that these guys are allowed to go through to play now is that Moist Esports had to drop the roster. And as long as they're not affiliated or representing Moist Esports at this LAN event, they're allowed to enter the country and play. So the hang up they're having, from the sounds of it, they haven't been given a confirmation as to why they've been rejected. It's simply because they're part of the organization. And if you watch Charlie's or Moist Critical's YouTube video about it, it mostly comes down to the name Moist Esports. That might have been the actual brick wall that stopped them from being allowed to enter the states to compete at this LAN under the banner of Moist Esports because the name. That's it. Simply because the name. And if this immigration officer doesn't understand the esports landscape or who Moist Esports was, what Apex is, or what a LAN event is compared to playing online, like they just get to hold their careers and this company's fate in the palm of their hands, possibly because they just didn't like the name of the esports organization, right? That's kind of what has been concluded after all the non-answers that Moist Esports has been given over the situation. And it's very disheartening to hear because Moist Esports, right? It's an organization ran by Moist Critical. It's he's a big YouTuber. If you haven't watched him, I'm sure you have. But and he does this out of passion, right? He invests a lot of money to make sure these guys are taken well care of. He loves esports. It's a big passion project for him and Ludwig and everyone involved in it. And it's disheartening to see that they're being held back because somebody has that sort of power for no apparent reason outside of disliking a name or not wanting to do the work needed to get them into the border. They just flagged them off as not coming in, and that's it. They're not coming in. And it's unfortunate for Moist to have to drop their players. So in the end, the boys still get to go and play at LAN, right? They still get to go compete, but now they have to do it as a free agency. They don't get to represent Moist Esports, which is unfortunate on that back end too, because they've supported them financially for the past, what would it be, like 4 months of this split, not even. Yes, about 2.5, 3 months of this split. I mean, they've been in the team now for quite some time. Some of these players for multiple years, right? And now they don't get to represent them on the biggest stage for this game because of bureaucracy, and that's what it comes down to is bureaucracy. So I feel very just this. I feel for Moist Esports, for Critical, for Ludwig, for Matt, for all the guys involved over there, for the players. I'm glad they still get to compete, obviously, but it's unfortunate to put in this amount of work and this amount of support, and now just to get that rug pulled out from under you for seemingly no reason. And tying that back into Aftermath, it's scary for myself, right? Because we're obviously a much smaller organization than Moist Esports is. We have way less working capital and way smaller budget, and we're all in on Stormgate and upcoming other RTS games, right? As some of you may know, we've picked up the former world champion for StarCraft 2, Parting, and he's from South Korea. And it really paints a picture that if that happened to us, where, say, Parting qualified for the world championship being held in LA, and we've been supporting him and utilizing him to build our brand for the past 6 months or whatever it might have been, and he gets to the border and can't join or can't participate unless he leaves the organization, that would be very detrimental to our growth as a business and our availability to continue on, right? Because that's kind of where you have to scale things. That viewership in esports is what drives the actual revenue, and if you're not allowed or able to actively tie your organization and your sponsors and your branding to that player on those stages, it kind of all comes crumbling down very quickly. And it sucks because it comes down to a singular person that might have woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day and can just deny access to somebody coming into the country with a very legitimate reason without having a legitimate reason to be denied, right? Because that's what it seems like with Moist Esports. They're just getting denied and bullied for a sense because the players can still go into the country. It's not like they're criminals. It's not like they have a record, or it's not like they're being held back for anything other than the organization they represent, which is terrifying and very upsetting for the landscape of esports that this can just happen on a whim. So I'm glad it's resolved for the moment. I know Moist Esports is, unfortunately, they have their hands tied. They can't really do much about it. They've tried their best. They've paid the money. They've had the lawyers. They've done every little thing that they can. But getting rejected again for this last filing, the LAN event's coming up way too soon for them to try to reapply. Because knowing bureaucracy, it takes weeks to get a reply to anything, let alone get actual confirmation on a rejection or exception or acceptance of a letter or an application. So it's very unfortunate that they're going to show up as free agents to this LAN event. Moist Esports doesn't get to benefit or be a part of that in a sense, right? Their name is kind of restricted or wiped off the record for this split. And unfortunately, because they're already kind of flagged and going through this issue, I kind of think it might happen if it happens again for split 2, right? At the next split to go to the world championship, right? Like what happens then, right? Is it going to be a recurring situation for this team now because this Moist Esports is flagged one time? Are they going to continuously be flagged? It's very unfortunate to watch, and like I said, it really paints a pretty dark landscape of what is possible to happen when you're trying to pursue stuff like this. And tying it back to the aftermath, it terrifying for us, right? Like the chances of it happening probably low, right? I don't know if there's been many instances of this in the past, but the fact it could happen is scary, right? Because if you invest a lot of money, right, for like ourselves, it's all out of pocket. So if we were to invest a bunch of money moving forward, and then it just got shut down at the border, and we're just kind of left to wallow in self pity, then that's just kind of the way it goes, right? Because I mean, the problem with bureaucracy is they just kind of dictate, and their final say is words. So it's very unfortunate. I wish nothing but the best for Moist Esports. I hope they can get this figured out before the LAN for Split 2, because they're a shoe in to qualify for that as well, right? So hopefully this doesn't happen again, and hopefully they can start to work to mitigate this potential for the future. But anyways, guys, if you want to find out more about what happened with the Moist Esports and all their stuff with the Apex players, you can go check out Moist Critical's YouTube videos. He's been putting out a few. I know he's very upset, rightfully so. And yeah, I hope nothing but for the best for them. I hope they can resolve this situation moving forward. And I hope it doesn't happen to anyone else, because right now esports needs more support than ever. We have a lot of things coming down the pipeline, but it's all based off passion, and seeing Moist Critical and Ludwig and all these other guys that have put the effort and the funding into it to just move it forward. It's unfortunate to see them almost punished for seemingly no reason. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching. I hope it was a bit informational if you haven't been keeping up to what's going on with that situation. But have a great day. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one, all right? Bye-bye.